Welcome to the Realty Rundown, the podcast that cuts through the noise of the real estate world. Your hosts, seasoned industry experts Nick and Nate, are here to guide you through the entire process. Each week, they're breaking down the latest market trends, decoding complex jargon, and sharing insider secrets you won't find anywhere else. Whether you're buying your first home, selling a property, or building an investment portfolio, we provide the clear, actionable advice you need to make your next move your best move.
All right, everybody, welcome back to episode 67 of the Realty Rundown from the Nic Wyse team at Remax Results. I happen to be Nic Wyse, and as you can see, nobody beside me. I'm running solo this week. Nathan has been working his buns off, and so has Julio. We're going to give a quick congratulations to Julio, who just went pending on not only his first, but his second sales as a pretty new agent. So really, really great. Really proud and happy for Julio. Now, I wish this whole episode was going to be about happy Julio and having fun, but it's not. We've got a fairly serious topic that we have to talk about. It's not something that you have to think about with real estate, but it absolutely is real estate. We're going to talk about the growing pressure that's facing our American farmers, and especially right here in Indiana and north central Indiana. So even if you've never stepped foot on a farm, which if you haven't, that's a shame. They're amazing places, but this still affects you because it affects your grocery bills. It affects your whole local economy, your land values, your fuel prices, and honestly, it affects our long-term food supply. Scary. So today I want to talk about some of the challenges that farmers are facing, why it matters, and maybe most importantly, what can we do about it? So recently I've read some reports. I came across my email how all this started, that there is record bankruptcies continuing to rise across the country that directly affect our farms. It's not like farmers just don't know how to farm and they're losing their properties because the math is getting harder. The way that they farm is being challenged, but really it's because fuel costs, as we all know, are very high right now, which also means fertilizer costs are going up, as well as equipment costs are going up and interest rates are up. So it's all these combined factors. And meanwhile, you've got your farmers who are selling into markets where they really don't control the price. So it's a really, really tough combination of factors. And then you've got to factor in another thing that is uncontrollable, the weather. I think we can all agree, whatever the cause is, we're not getting into that. We have more extreme weather than we've ever had before. So one week it's like we've got massive flooding, and then there's drought conditions, and then you've got these massive temperature swings too. So farming has always been a risky endeavor, but now the swings are even more extreme and more expensive. So again, it's not just, farmers got a problem, don't they? It's an everybody problem because we're seeing it at the grocery store. You're seeing it at your food prices at your restaurants. And that means you're seeing it all over in your local economy, especially here in Indiana, where agriculture is still a huge role. It still plays a big part of our local economy. So I think a lot of people, again, they forget how much risk farmers carry. You can literally have millions of dollars in land and equipment. I actually looked this up. A single combine, those big old combines that you see sometimes driving down the road, they can cost $1 million for one of them. So these are huge cash flow issues. You know, these big, heavy, expensive pieces of equipment are almost always bought with a loan, which right now carries these massively high interest rates. And so much of it depends on factors, again, that are outside of the farmer's control. You've also got fuel costs, weather, commodity prices, fertilizer, like we talked about. It's just a really hard business to be in. And when these things start to affect their cash flow and they've got these loans out there, they can't pay them. And that's what we're seeing right now. So we're seeing foreclosures on farms, and it's not good. It's really about the worst case situation that I can imagine. We don't want anything bad happening to our farms, and we've been trying, I think, as a nation, really, and definitely in the world overall, they've been spending decades trying to make food cheaper and cheaper. But at the same time, farming is becoming harder and harder. And eventually something breaks. And I think that's where we're at right now. So if farmers can't survive, what happens? Well, food isn't going to magically appear in the grocery store just because the grocery store exists. Somebody still has to grow the food. I've seen some interesting posts over time on social media where I'm not sure people understand that. The green beans just come in cans, somebody grew them. So if the family farms disappear, most of the time they don't come back, and that's a big part of it too. The farmland itself is disappearing. Indiana and the nation continues to grow, right? Development happens. It keeps expanding. And we're not just talking about residential development, subdivisions, which is a huge part of it, but we're talking about warehouses and commercial projects too. Bristol right now, a prime example. They are annexing hundreds of acres of farmland, basically two big family farms that have been around for a very long time, and they're annexing them for future commercial developments. Very likely a data center. If you're in Bristol and you thought the data center was dead, it ain't. It's still very much a possibility. They're just being a little more practical about how they go about it. And again, not for this episode, but yeah, that's happening. That's in Bristol right now, and that's just one small town. And guys, I'm in real estate. I understand development is integral to growth. We need development. I've talked about that 100 times. We need more subdivisions. We need more housing. But I also think we need to be thoughtful about how we preserve this productive farmland and support the people that are actually working it right now. Because again, as I mentioned, once farmland is gone, it's gone forever. You know, this data center, if it comes in and takes over hundreds of acres, it's not like they're going to change that anytime soon and be like, we didn't need the data after all. We're going to turn it back into farmland. It's gone, guys. So it's just an important thing. I hope people are paying attention to it. And I don't want everything to be negative in this episode because there are some good things that are happening. There is some initiatives in DC. Congressman Yakim has been a part of this as well. There are efforts to strengthen the farm bill. Bills are not new, but there are efforts to strengthen it. There's conversations about how to adjust fertilizer costs, which is going to be a huge reduction of pressure on most farmers who rely on fertilizer, obviously. And then we've got some innovation happening. And one of the things I want to point out, there is actually in Indiana a company called Market Wagon. And what they do is basically help connect these local farms directly to their consumers. I love it. We personally get a lot of our food grown locally, whether that's our beef from some friends of ours who have grass-fed beef, which I think is the best and best for you, but also just try and get normal products from farmers. I mean, honey, you don't think about that as farming, I guess, so much, but, our vegetables, our eggs, we try and get a lot of that stuff sourced locally. And then we also try to support, and this is something you can do too, support restaurants that are truly farm to table. I think that gets thrown around a lot. We're farm to table. All right. And how much of it are you truly? But what they're doing when they do that, they're skipping these big food distributors and they're getting their products. Well, food distributor products, by the way, I can tell you from having been in the restaurant industry, you're often getting some cheaper product because it is truly cheaper. It's got a lot of processed meats and cheeses are almost always going to be processed if you're getting them through the big guys. But, these restaurants that are going truly farm to table, they're getting their meat from the farm down the road. They're getting their lettuce, their vegetables, whatever they can get from the farm down the road. They're serving that up to you on your plate, locally sourced. So I love it. And that's something that we can all do to help out a little bit, help your community and support your local agriculture. It's part of the solution here. I also want to point out for the farmers watching, there's a really cool documentary that I also watched recently and it kind of got my gears turning. It's called The Lunatic Farmer. I want to say it's either on Angel TV or I think it's on Angel, but look it up. Google The Lunatic Farmer. It's got this guy, Joel Salatin, and his farm is called Polyface Farm. But what he's really doing is trying to work with nature instead of constantly fighting against it. So he does what's, rotational grazing of his livestock, which then he gets healthier soil, more regenerative systems. And I'm not going to sit here and pretend to be a farming expert just because I watched the documentary. So go watch it and you'll see how neat it is yourself. There's some other really good examples, like no-till farming, people that do no-till farming to try and conserve, the minerals that are in the earth instead of tilling everything up and then wind carries those things off. And that's a whole thing too, but you can look that up too. And I think that we do a pretty good job from what I understand around here in North Central Indiana of that no-till farming, but there's maybe even more things we could be doing. So I'm sure the farmers are educating themselves. I just want them to know that we are on their side and we're going to continue to try and support people locally. And I hope you folks will too. Yeah, guys, I think the future is just, we don't really want bigger farms. And that's what's happening with this. When we lose our small local farms, it gets bigger and bigger and more commercial and more commercial. And I think if we can just maybe introduce some better systems, support things locally, we can avoid those bigger and bigger farms that maybe are doing things at a level that we don't really benefit from. So at the end of the day, guys, farmers, if you know a farmer, shake their hand. They're some of the hardest working people out there, but a lot of them are dealing with an unbelievable amount of pressure and stress right now. So anything you can do, even if it's just a word of encouragement. And whether or not you agree with every policy discussion or not, I think it's important that we at least understand what's going through, because it does affect us all. So support your local farmers, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I learned a lot trying to research this one. I don't want to make everything too long. We're already at 10 minutes, so I'll shut up. But yeah, this one Nick didn't know, and now Nick knows a little bit more about farming and how important it is to support these guys. All right, friends, if you got any other real estate questions, please reach out. You know I've got your wise replies, and we will see you next time on the Realty Rundown.
And that's a wrap on another episode. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you had as much fun as we did. We love sharing real estate insights, but as you can see, we also love to have a good time. This energy and passion is what we bring to every client. Buying or selling a home is a huge deal, but it doesn't have to be stressful. With the right team, it can even be fun. Ready to make your move? Let's connect.